Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to HeCsUsAll YouTube and Bitchute channel. I don't want to do a long introduction today because we're going to be starting the book of Enoch, but I do want to say that I apologize in advance for the pronunciation of the angels' names. I am pretty sure I'm not pronouncing any of these names right, but I will do my best. This is the first book of Enoch, the book of Watchers, chapter 1. The words of the blessing of Enoch, with which he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and godless people are to be removed from the earth. And he began his story, saying, I am Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God, and who saw the vision of the Holy One in heaven, which the angel showed me. And I heard everything from them, and I saw and understood. But it was not for this generation to know, but for a remote one, which is to come. As I began my story concerning the elect, I said, The Holy Great One will come out from his dwelling, and the eternal God will tread on the earth, even on Mount Sinai, and appear in the strength of his might from heaven. And all shall be very afraid. The watchers shall shake, and great fear and trembling shall seize them all the way to the ends of the earth. And the high mountains shall be shaken, and the high hills shall be laid low, and shall melt like wax in the flame. And the earth shall be completely torn apart, and all that is on the earth shall be destroyed, and there shall be a judgment on all. But with the righteous he will make peace, and will protect the elect, and mercy shall be on them. And they shall all belong to God, and they shall prosper, and they shall be blessed, and the light of God shall shine on them. And behold, he comes with 10,000 of his holy ones, his saints, to execute judgment on all, and to destroy all the ungodly, the wicked, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Chapter 2. Observe everything that takes place in the sky, how the lights do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in heaven, how they all rise and set in order, each in its season or proper time, and do not transgress or defy their appointed order. Consider the earth, and understand the things which take place on it from start to finish, how steadfast they are, how none of the things on the earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. Behold the summer and winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds and dew and rain lie on it. Chapter 3. Observe and see how, in the winter, all the trees seem as though they had withered and shed all their leaves, except for 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain the old foliage from 2 to 3 years until the new comes. Chapter 4. And again, observe the days of the summer, how the sun is above the earth, and you seek shade and shelter because of the heat of the sun, and the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot walk on the earth or on a rock because of its heat. Chapter 5. Observe how the trees are covered with green leaves, and how they bear fruit. Understand, know, and recognize that he that lives forever made them this way for you. And all his work go on before him from year to year forever, and all the work and the tasks which they accomplish for him do not change, and so it is done. Consider how the sea and the rivers in like manner accomplish their course, but do not change because of his commandments. But you have neither held to, nor have you done the commandments of the Lord, but you have turned away and spoken proud and hard words with your unclean mouths against his greatness. O you hard-hearted, you shall find no peace. Therefore shall you curse your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied, and in an eternal curse you shall find no mercy. In those days you shall make your names an eternal curse to all the righteous, and by you shall all who curse, and all the sinners and godless shall curse you forever. And for you, the godless, there shall be a curse. And all the elect shall rejoice, and there shall be forgiveness of sins, and mercy, and peace, and forbearance, and joy. There shall be salvation for them, like a good light. And for all you sinners there shall be no salvation, but on you all shall abide a curse. But for the elect there shall be light, and joy, and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. And then wisdom shall be given to the elect, and they shall all live and never again sin, either through forgetfulness or through pride. But those who are given wisdom shall be humble. And they shall not again transgress, nor shall they sin all the days of their life, nor shall they die of the anger or wrath of God, but they shall complete the number of the days of their lives, and their lives shall be increased in peace, and their years will grow in joy and eternal gladness and peace all the days of their lives. Chapter 6. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born to them beautiful and fair daughters. And the angels, the sons of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and have children with them. And Semyaza, who was their leader, said to them, I fear you will not agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of this great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual curses, so we will not abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then they all swore together and bound themselves by mutual curses. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared in the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon, because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual curses on the act. And these are the names of their leaders, and this is the angelic names I'm having a little trouble with. Samlazas, their leader, Araklaba, Ramael, Kokablel, Tamlel, Ramlel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakiel, Azael, Armaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zakiel, Samsapeel, Satarel, Turel, Yomyael, Sariel. These are their chiefs of tens. And all of them went and took wives for themselves, each choosing one for himself. And they began to go into them and to defile themselves with sex with them. And the angels taught them charms and spells, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And the women became pregnant, and they bare large giants, whose height was 3,000 cubits. The giants consumed all the work and toil of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them, and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drank the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Chapter 8. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and taught them about metals of the earth and the art of working with them, and bracelets and ornaments and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids and all kinds of precious stones, and all coloring and dyes. And there was great impiety. They turned away from God and committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Semyaza taught the casting of spells and root cuttings. Armaros taught counterspells, or the release from spells. Barakiel taught astrology. Kokabel taught the constellations. Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds. Erakiel the signs of the earth. Shamsiel the signs of the sun. And Sadiel the course of the moon. And as men perished they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. Chapter 9. And this is actually where the channel name comes from as well. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed on the earth, and all the lawlessness being done on the earth. And they said to each other, Let the cries from the destruction of earth ascend up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, The souls of men make their petition, saying, Bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of the ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and God of the ages, the throne of your glory endures through all the generations of the ages, and your name holy and glorious and blessed to all the ages. You have made all things, and you have power over all things, and all things are revealed and open in your sight, and you see all things, and nothing can hide itself from you. Look at what Azazel has done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were made and kept in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And Semyaza, who taught spells, to whom you gave authority to rule over his associates. And they have gone to the daughters of men on the earth, and have had sex with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now, behold, the souls of those who have died are crying out and making their petition at the gates of heaven, and their lament has ascended and cannot cease because of the lawless deeds which are being done on the earth. And you know all things before they come to pass, and you see all things, and you have permitted them, and say nothing to us about these things. What are we to do with them about these things? Chapter 10. Then said the Most High, the Great and Holy One, Uriel, go to the son of Lamech, and say to him, Go to Noah, and tell him in my name hide yourself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole world will be destroyed, and a flood is about to come on the whole earth, and will destroy everything on it. And now instruct him as to what he must do to escape, that his offspring may be preserved for all the generations of the world. And again the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel, hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and split open the desert which is in Dudael, and cast him in. And fill the hole by covering him with rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him live there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see the light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be hurled into the fire. And heal the earth which the angels have ruined, and proclaim the healing of the earth. For I will restore the earth and heal the plague, that not all of the children of men may perish, through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and have taught their sons. The whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. To Gabriel, said the Lord, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication and the children of the watchers. Cause them to go against one another, that they may destroy each other in battle. Shorten their days. No request that the watchers make of you shall be granted them on their behalf, for they hope to live in eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. And the Lord said to Michael, Go, bind Semyaza and his team who have associated with women and have defiled themselves in all their uncleanness. When their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations under the hills of the earth, until the day of the consumption of their judgment, and until the eternal judgment is accomplished. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, into the torment and the prison in which they shall be confined forever. Then Semyaza shall be burnt up with the condemned, and they will be destroyed, having been bound together with them to the end of all generations. Destroy all the spirits of lust and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end, and let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The works of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forevermore. And then shall all the righteous survive, and shall live until they beget thousands of children. And all the days of their youth and their old age shall they complete in peace. And then shall the whole earth be untilled in righteousness, and shall be planted with trees, and be full of blessing. And all desirable trees shall be planted on it, and they shall plant vines on it. And the vine which they plant shall yield fruit in abundance. And as for the seed which is sown, each measurement of it shall bear 1,000, and each measurement of olives shall yield 10 presses of oil. You shall cleanse the earth from all oppression, and from all unrighteousness, and from all sin, and from all godlessness, and all the uncleanness that is brought on the earth you shall destroy from off of the earth. All the children of men shall become righteous, and all nations shall offer adoration and praise me. And all shall worship me, and the earth shall be cleansed from all defilement, and from all sin, and from all punishment, and from all torment. And I will never again send another flood from this generation to all generations, and forever. Chapter 11. And in those days I will open the storehouse of blessings in heaven, and rain down blessings on the earth, and over the work and labor of the children of men. Truth and peace shall be united throughout all the days of the world, and throughout all the generations of men. Chapter 12. Then Enoch disappeared, and not one of the children of men knew where he was hidden, and where he abode, and what had become of him. And his activities were with the holy ones and the watchers. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty, and the King of the ages. And lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, you scribe of righteousness, go, tell the watchers of heaven, who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken to themselves wives. You have done great destruction on the earth, and you shall have no peace nor forgiveness of sin. Since they delight themselves in their children, they shall see the murder of their beloved ones, and the destruction of their children, and they shall lament, and shall make supplication forever. You will receive neither mercy or peace. Chapter 13. And Enoch went and said, Azazel, you shall have no peace. A severe sentence has been passed against you, that you should be bound, and you shall not have rest or mercy, because of the unrighteousness which you have taught, and because of all the works of godlessness, and unrighteousness and sin which you have shown to men. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they asked me to write a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Lord of heaven. They had been forbidden to speak with him, nor were they to lift up their eyes to heaven for shame of their sins, because they had been condemned. Then I wrote out their petition and the prayer in regard to their spirits and their deeds individually, and in regard to their requests, that they should obtain forgiveness and forbearance. And I went off and sat down at the waters of Dan, in the land of Dan, to the southwest of Hermon. I read their petition until I fell asleep. And I had a dream, and I saw a vision of their chastisement, and a voice came to me that I would reprimand them. And when I awoke, I came to them, and they were all sitting gathered together, weeping, in Abel's jail, which is in between Lebanon and Sennacer, with their faces covered. And I recounted to them all the visions which I had seen when I was asleep, and I began to speak the words of righteousness, and to reprimand the heavenly watchers. Chapter 14. This is the book of the words of righteousness, and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers, in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One, in that vision I saw in my sleep. What I will now say with a tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men to speak with it, and to understand with the heart. As he has created and given to man the power of understanding the word of wisdom, so has he created me also, and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, And in my vision it appeared that your petition will not be granted to you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed on you. Your petition will not be granted. From here on you shall not ascend into heaven again for all eternity, and you will be bound on earth for all eternity. Before this, you will see the destruction of your beloved sons, and you shall have no pleasure in them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. Your petition shall not be granted on their behalf or on yours, even though you weep and pray and speak all the words contained in my writings. In the vision I saw clouds that invited me and summoned me into a mist, and the course of the stars and the flashes of lightning, and hurried me and drove me. And the winds in the vision caused me to fly and lifted me up, and bore me into heaven. And I went in until I drew near to a wall which was built out of crystals and surrounded by tongues of fire, and it began to frighten me. I went into the tongues of fire and drew near a large house which was built of crystals, and the walls of the house were like a mosaic of hailstones, and the floor was made of crystals like snow. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars and lightning flashes, and between them were fiery cherubim. Their sky was as clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its doors blazed with fire. I entered that house, and it was as hot as fire and as cold as ice. There were no pleasures or life therein. Fear covered me, and trembling got a hold of me. As I shook and trembled, I fell on my face. And I saw a vision, and lo, there was a second house, greater than the first. And all the doors stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire, and in every respect it was splendid and magnificent to the extent that I cannot describe it to you. Its floor was of fire, and above it was lightning in the path of the stars, and its ceiling also was flaming fire. And I looked and saw a throne set on high. Its appearance was like crystal, and its wheels were like a shining sun, and there was the vision of cherubim. And from underneath the throne came rivers of fire so that I could not look at it. And he who is great in glory sat on the throne, and his raiment shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter, or could behold his face because of the magnificence and the glory, and no flesh could behold him. The sea of fire surrounded him, and a great fire stood in front of him, and no one could draw close to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, but he needed no holy counsel. The most holy ones who were near to him did not leave night or day. And until then I had been prostrate on my face, trembling. And the Lord called me with his own mouth and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and hear my word." And one of the holy ones came to me and picked me up and brought me to the door, and I bowed down my face. Chapter 15. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, "Do not be afraid, Enoch, you righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach, and hear my voice. Go and say to the watchers of heaven, for whom you have come to intercede. You should intercede for men, and not men for you. Why and for what cause have you left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and had sex with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons? Though you were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, you have defiled yourselves with the blood of women, and have begotten children with the blood of flesh. And, as the children of men, you have lusted after flesh and blood like those who die and are killed. This is why I have given men wives, that they might impregnate them, and have children by them, that deeds might continue on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life, and immortal for all generations of the world. Therefore I have not appointed wives for you. You are spiritual beings of heaven, and in heaven was your dwelling place. And now, the giants who are produced from the spirits in flesh shall be called evil spirits on the earth, and shall live on the earth. Evil spirits have come out from their bodies because they are born from men and from the holy watchers. Their beginning is of primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called, spirits of the evil ones. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of earth, which were born on earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, war, and cause trouble on the earth. They take no food, but do not hunger or thirst. They cause offenses, but are not observed. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them in the days of slaughter and destruction. Chapter 16. And at the death of the giants, spirits will go out and shall destroy without incurring judgment. Coming from their bodies, their flesh shall be destroyed until the day of consummation, the great judgment in which the age shall be consummated, over the watchers and the godless, and shall be wholly consummated. And now as to the watchers who have sent you to intercede for them, who had been in heaven before, say to them, you were in heaven, but all the mysteries of heaven had not yet been revealed to you, and you knew worthless ones. And these in the hardness of your hearts you have made known to the women. And through these mysteries women and men work much evil on earth. Say to them, therefore, you have no peace. Chapter 17. And they took me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire. And, when they wished, they made themselves appear as men. They brought me to the place of darkness, and to a mountain the point of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw the lighted places, and the treasuries of the stars, and the thunder, and in the uttermost depths where were a fiery bow and arrows in their quiver, and a fiery sword and all the lightning. And they took me to the waters of life, and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, in which the fire flows like water into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers, and came to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place from where all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouths of all the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the deep. Chapter 18. I saw the storehouse of all the winds. I saw how he had adorned the whole creation with them, and the firm foundations of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which support the earth, and the firmament of the heaven. I saw how the winds stretch out the height of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the sky, and the sun, and all the stars to their setting place. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above. And I continued south and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east, they were of colored stone, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth, a stone of healing, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to heaven, like the throne of God, and was made of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a great abyss of the earth, with pillars of heavenly fire, and I saw among them fiery pillars of heaven, which were falling. And as regards both height and depth, they were immeasurable. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water on it, and no birds. But it was a desert, and a horrible place. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains. And an angel questioned me regarding them. The angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them, and bound them until the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. Chapter 19. And Uriel said to me, "The angels who have had sex with women shall stand here, and their spirits, having assumed many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand, until the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged and are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens. And I, Enoch, alone saw the vision, the ends of all things, and no man shall see as I have seen.